Hello, welcome
Hello.
to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers, your statistics and sports podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
And I'm Corwin Heller.
And it is Sunday, December 19th. As we're recording this, you're listening to it on the 20th, which means Christmas time is here. It's always,
So bad.
I love it. I always find Christmas on the weekend / New Year's on the weekend, since it's not the same thing, is not the best vibe for me. It's not the greatest. I would much prefer Christmas on like a Wednesday or Thursday, where it's like, this whole week is because Monday, when Christmas is on Wednesday, Monday is useless. Like everyone shows up to work on Monday who's showing up on December, what is that, 23rd, and is like, oh, we all mutually understand nothing is happening. But with Christmas not till Saturday, like I'm going to have to actually work this week. And that's disappointing.
I have the option of taking the 23rd off. Like it's officially like a day that like the site will be closed and I can, not go to work and not do anything and just stay home. Or I can go in and get double pay.
Double. Oh,
Double
you take
pay.
double every single fucking day.
Like time and a half is a conversation. Double pay is like, oh shit. Like I don't get paid hourly anymore, so I don't know exactly what it is, but
it's fucking good.
It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah.
Like even if you're paid blue ass and it was $9, which is below minimum wage for Jersey. So New Jersey's minimum wage is like what, 13 at this point, 12. So even if it was just minimum fucking wage, we're talking like $25 an hour. And it's like, yeah.
I'm gonna do some rough guesstimates here on what it would be per hour.
As Corwin was just busting my balls off here for doing a rough estimate.
Suck my balls.
Can well.
Oh my god, what the fuck did I just hit? It would be like, I actually don't want to say because how much I make. But
I was gonna say, like, are you really about to drop your salary on air here? Because it wouldn't be very hard to divide by 2.
Fucking outrageous.
Oh, that'd be really fucking funny. Anyway,
so I'm gonna work a long day that day.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a 6 a.m. start for me until maybe I'll stay till 4.
Dog, I'm working a 14-hour shift that day. Like, hell yeah.
It's real busy this day. I really got to make sure we're good for,
Because you got to think, if you stay for dinner and you go out and you buy yourself like a $20 dinner, you're still turning a profit.
Yeah.
Anyway, not the point about how we steal from our companies.
Oh, actually, we had our holiday party on Thursday.
Oh, I forgot to ask about this.
We didn't get any like bonuses. I'll type out later.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get like a holiday bonus. Like it's a different type of structure for our company. No like corporate gift, and everyone was kind of like peeved about it. And then the next morning, they're like, "Yeah, anyone who actually went to the party last night can put all of those hours down as paid time." And like it was like a 5-hour event, and it's just like, oh fuck, like yeah, all right, we got drunk in the office and now we're getting paid a significant amount of money for it. Yeah, let's fucking go. Like this is great.
Oh, you love to see that. That's good. That's very good. Well, speaking of parties that definitely won't be happening, I guess we'll start with Kyrie Irving, who was planning on coming back to the NBA, and then as soon as he thought about participating in a team sport, he immediately contracted COVID and entered health and safety protocols.
Did he test positive, or was it just like, no, dude, like you just need to enter safety protocols now because it's some other situation?
I actually don't know, but I'm also not sure how much they're able to say up front, because if you say have like a positive test, but it's the first positive test, then maybe they don't say anything yet. Because I feel like that's been the trend whenever we see a health and safety that turns into they got COVID. If it happens in that order, I feel like it's maybe they need to play it safe rather than say like this here's the reason. So as far as I know, they haven't announced that it's a positive test, but I mean, the health and safety protocols are there basically because of COVID. So it's a pretty safe assumption. And man, in the world of sports, very little is truly predictable. Any given Sunday in the NFL, bad teams win series all the time in MLB. This one everyone saw coming. This one everyone saw coming. The variants are getting more transmissible by the moment, and Kyrie plays in the most densely populated city in America. Yeah, like this was
Kyrie Irving. I just kind of expect that from him at this point, you know.
Yeah, it's tough to listen to somebody who's anti-vax and assume that they're also following all the other precautions to keep themselves. Like, there's no one out there who's like, I'm anti-vax, but I'm super pro-mask, wash my hands all the time. I don't talk to people. I social distance. I just don't want the stick and poke. And it's like, no, whoever's like, I'm not getting my vaccine is also like, masks are poison and the social distancing is to keep them from detecting the radiation in my fucking underpants. Like, it's lunatic shit. And yeah, it's because, and you know, even if Kyrie came back, right, in a world in which he comes back, he would only be allowed to play outside of New York City. And I assume then, therefore, only in towns that would actually let him be in the building. And I don't even know if that's a long-term viable. Like, could you imagine that the Nets ride that all the way to the championship round and Game 7 is like not in Brooklyn? sorry, is in Brooklyn, I should say, is in Brooklyn, and he just like can't fucking play. Could you imagine that? Game 7 of the NBA Finals, season on the line, Nets like first championship right there for the taking. Kyrie Irving came back and smashed it, and will not play. Was choosing not to play in a Game 7 because he doesn't want the needle to the arm.
How quickly would he go from absolute hero in the city of New York to just the biggest villain they have?
Well, you know, you gotta think that that's him today, because shortly after they announced that Kyrie is going into health and safety, they announced that Kevin Durant is also going in health and safety. And it'd be such a different story if Kyrie was coming back, you know, vaxxed, waxed, and ready to party. But instead, he was coming back in, you know, his shitty fashion to try to skirt by normal societal behaviors, and that punched them in the gut. Because like, if they announced Kevin Durant's going into health and safety, which happens to vaccinated people, it's going to happen to vaccinated people. But Kyrie Irving's like on the wings, like, you know, ready to join back in. You can go to and say to yourself, all right, this fucking blows, because Kevin Durant is a, you know, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But Kyrie Irving, solid fucking player, you know, like top 15 in the NBA today. I'm going to just like kind of guess and say, you know, that's a difference maker there. And instead, like, Kyrie's selfishness is not just at this point costing them Kyrie. Now it's costing them an all-star on the court, regardless of who that is. Because it's not just Kyrie doesn't get to play with KD today. Now neither of them are playing. And that's not Kyrie's fault that KD's also hitting health and safety, but it's his fault that he's not on the court to help soak up the minutes that are now being lost from a Hall of Fame basketball player, an all-star basketball player that he could have helped shoulder the burden of, to help make it easier on the other guys that are going to have to share that burden as well. And instead, he's not there.
I mean, like, KD's out there, got vaccinated, and is playing at an MVP caliber. You know, he's the front runner for MVP in the NBA today. And yet, because of Kevin Durant forcing them to wins, like, he is dragging them kicking and screaming all the way. And it wouldn't be that difficult to have them be a very, very good team if KD was playing the way he is and Kyrie was there to pick up some of the load. You know, the games they are dropping, all right, maybe that's a game where Kyrie goes off or Kyrie picks up some of the slack and they're able to squeeze it out. You know, we don't know basketball. We're not basketball guys, the way that we are football and baseball guys. I don't know the intricacies of baseball and, team dynamics and the way. Honestly, I don't know how basketball works, but I understand how team sports as a whole work. And when you have a guy of Kyrie's caliber choosing to sit out and choosing to let the team go on without him because of his own selfish reasons, it's a tough look. It's a really fucking tough look.
And, let's take a peek at basketball standings today. I'm sure that the Nets are doing probably just fine. Let's see. Yeah, they're the number one seed in the East. They have the third best record in the entirety of the NBA. Who do you think has the best record in the NBA today?
Golden State.
Second best. They're second best.
The best record in the NBA today.
What if I told you it was the Phoenix Suns?
Okay, it's the Phoenix Suns. That was my guess. Oh, the Phoenix Suns. Hey, look at that. That's right.
Yeah, because I totally forgot they went on like a 17-game win streak at the beginning of the season or some shit like that.
Are they in the bubble?
Oh, that's really the next question for both the NBA and the NHL, who are going through it right now. The NHL apparently a third of the league is pausing to some extent their games because 60 players are in health and safety protocols in the NHL, and that is nearly 3 teams. Like if you put all those guys on one, that's nearly 3 entire hockey teams. And the fact that you're going to spread that out is, that while 2 players per team doesn't sound like a lot, that's a fucking lot. It's not going to be that spread out. Yeah. It's not.
No, not at all. It's fucking insane. Like if you look at my fantasy team right now, there's more guys on injured reserve than are healthy. It's a tough look.
And these are both leagues, NHL and the NBA, that went into bubbles 2 years ago when they had to basically pause their seasons in, whatever it was, like January, February, and then pick it back up in like June, July. The NBA did a full bubble in Florida, and the NHL did like pocket cities, a couple different bubble cities, around the Canada and the US. But regardless, like we're reaching a point where it's like, yeah, y'all better just fucking do that shit again, because this is not going to get better. It's not going to get better heading into winter. And it's wild that we're having this conversation again. But here we fucking are. Like, we were skeptical when they were going to start letting fans back into stands and shit, and then, loosen a bunch of restrictions based on what the state guidelines were. And it worked out for a while. But you know what? Yeah, it seems like they probably should have had a pretty airtight backup plan. And if they have one, now is the time to implement.
Yeah. You think they have one?
So, it's tough to understand the difference from an outside perspective of, do they have a backup plan versus is it a backup plan they realistically would actually implement? Like, it's really easy for me to say like, oh, I spent too much money this month. Oh, well, the next month I'll just buy absolutely nothing but food and gas, and I'll save like $9,000. And you know what's tough about that? You're never going to do it. You're never going to do it. It's not going to happen. Not even selfishly. Like, there's going to be something else that comes up and you'll be like, oh yeah, I had to spend money on that. It's what it is. And it's really easy if I'm an NHL exec, let's say, and I say, all right, here's our reopening strategy. We're going to make a bunch more money doing this. We're going to be able to sell tickets again. Stadiums are going to be able to sell food and drinks again. We'll be able to sell a bit more merchandise from the in-person team store, all that type of stuff, all good stuff. Here's how we're going to do it. Here are the local guidelines. We checked on all of it. Boom, bang, boom. We're prepared. And if shit goes south, we'll just do the bubble thing again. How do you want to do that? We'll do the bubble thing again. We'll put everyone in Edmonton. No one lives there. And the wives and kids can't come. We'll really lock it down, keep tight lock and key. We won't even give them Zoom just in case this one's digital. And and we'll just finish out the season with no issues. And it's like, oh yeah, that's great. We're definitely not doing that. So yeah, that totally. Just write it down. Just put that one, lock it in, submit it. Yeah, you're good. And so it's like, is their plan realistic, or is it some shit that they really don't want to have to do again? I don't know.
Yes, I think it's yes. I think there's a definite plan that they would have that is feasible in theory and incredibly difficult in practice, and just something they really don't want to have to go through. I think they're really hoping everyone just happens to get healthy really quickly, which I don't think is going to happen.
Which really like brings us to the the fucking NFL's plan, which is so stupid. I'm not sure that they have an actual plan yet, but they do have they did rearrange their schedule to try to accommodate the 6 teams. And so they have a bunch of Sunday games today, and then they're having 2 games tomorrow on Monday, and then they're having 2 games played on Tuesday. And the teams that have been affected are getting their games pushed back. So we talked about Raiders Browns. It was supposed to happen on Sunday. Now that's going to be a Monday game. Seattle LA, or with the Rams, it was supposed to be a Sunday game. Now it's a Tuesday game. Washington, also a Tuesday game. And yeah, so I guess also the NFL's plan is just hey, let's hope 2 extra days just solves all our fucking problems.
This is like the ultimate, like, hey, I procrastinated writing this paper for a week. Can I have an extension? And hopefully I find the ability to do it in the next 48 hours, even though I have no intention of actually starting it.
And this is what Corwin and I said. Like, they're fucked. They are fucked. Because they can't just say, Eagles, you have to eat the L on the, or sorry, Washington, you have to eat the L on this. Eagles are getting an automatic win, because then, well, maybe not Washington, because their whole situation is a fucking nightmare. But Rams or whatever, taking an L, moving it on. We're going to give the Seahawks the dub there. It fucks everything up. And as a Jets fan, I wouldn't want that to happen either, because then the Seahawks get a better pick in the draft and we have their first round. Like, the implications are wild. And it's too late in the season for them to move anything back with actual sincerity. And so here they are doing this wishy-washy bullshit. And what's funny is that my guess, I want to hear your thoughts on it, if the teams are still experiencing large numbers of players on the COVID list, I bet they make them play the game anyway.
I think there's going to be a lot of guys sitting on their couches that get signed to sit on the sidelines just to fill out that roster and get them to 46 guys. I mean, the Ravens are playing today, and they have 27 guys who are out because of injury or COVID. 27. That's a stupid fucking number.
Oh, boy.
I think they're going to have to play the games, because it's either going to forfeit or you play the games with what you got. And I think I don't think there's any NFL team that would be willingly okay with, forfeiting a game that they could feasibly play, even if it is putting a hell of a lot of strain on their players. So I think they play. I don't think it's going to be the faces that we're used to seeing. I think it's going to be a lot of guys out of nowhere and deep in the depths of, practice squads and the depth charts around the league. And just, it's going to be ridiculous.
I think you're probably right. And I think, the reason that makes that so especially upsetting is because if I'm a player on the Eagles, let's say, and I'm getting fucked, like I got to play on Tuesday now. That means it's a short week turnaround, like playing Monday night. Maybe it's not the biggest deal, but the problem with playing Monday night is, no one practices the day after a game, because you need the day off to rest and recuperate. And then, depending on the team, you might give vets off on Tuesday, and then have full team practice on Wednesday. And then Wednesday, you'll really start getting into what the other team does. And, you'll start, showing scouting reports to your players, that type of stuff. And when you have the short week turnaround, even losing one day when you have, there's so few days in a week, 7's not a lot. It really adds up. And losing 2 days now is going to fuck shit up even farther. And if you have to end up playing the game anyway, like if I'm an Eagles player, I was supposed to play on Sunday. They're moving my game to Tuesday. Everyone on Washington that was sick on Sunday is still sick on Tuesday. And then the league office says, fuck you, play the game. Well, I lost 2 days of my recovery time, prep time, and practice time now for literally no reason. Literally, because if you're going to tell me go fuck yourself, play the game 2 days from now, just tell me to do that now. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Washington players would feel the same way too. Like if half the team still fucking has COVID, because all those Washington players who are healthy, I'm sure they all are expecting to play next Sunday's game and would also like to have the proper amount of recovery time and the proper amount of scouting report time and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to tell the players to play the game, do it earlier, do it sooner. They're just fucking with people.
Right. Like, is that 2 days going to make a difference? Almost certainly not. You're only making it worse for everyone involved.
Right. Right. Because I mean, like, how many players even if I don't know, let's say 20 players are on the IR from COVID. How many players have to come back in 2 days to make it worth it? Like, obviously, all 20, that's worth it. But like 2 doesn't seem worth it.
I don't know how to even go about answering that question. I really don't.
That's fair. Oh, we said on Wednesday or on Thursday's episode when that one dropped, like what the NFL is going to be doing in these next handful of days will be very interesting because because they put themselves in such an untenable position. And so far, the answer to what have they done is not a lot, and it's not good. And it involved kicking the can down the road. So we will have a new answer for you next Thursday's episode about what happens come Tuesday, assuming everyone's healthy and assuming everyone still has COVID. So, man, we'll see. Not good. It's not good, Jack. Not good.
Ooh, who would have thought COVID's a real thing that is affecting us? Ooh. Absolutely wild stuff.
Who'd have seen this? We didn't see Delta coming. Thanks, Vice President. Appreciate you just fucking with us. All right. Let's see. Oh, Urban Meyer got fired. I completely fucking forgot about that because it was so expected.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, right. Like that's a thing that is notable because it happened finally.
Yeah. Like mentally for me, he got fired like 3 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Boy. And it's not even like it was like this whole big thing. It was on a Wednesday night at 12:30, just after midnight. That's bad. That's a bad time to get fired. That is a bad fucking sign.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I wonder. Lamar Jackson officially inactive. So is he not playing?
No, Tyler Huntley is at quarterback. He just threw his first incompletion, so.
Keep that ball.
Keep that ball.
You always remember your first one. Fuck, what were we saying? Oh, yeah, Urban Meyer. So where does he go? Because it's not like he just got fired for being bad at his job. Like NFL coaches survive constantly around the NFL after getting fired for being bad at their job. He got fired for being a horrible person.
Right.
Where does he go?
College, because time and time again they've shown to not give a shit if the guy's a piece of shit.
That's true.
I think he'll take some time off to spend with his family, but I think the second there's a high-profile coaching position that comes available, he will be leading the list.
You know, it's also interesting, funny. I don't know. He got fired for cause, which terminates his contract.
Yeah,
and that means he's not getting
a lot of money.
Yeah, so he's not getting paid shit from that contract anymore. And you got to wonder, like, how big was his contract at the time when he signed it? Do you remember offhand?
It was decent. It wasn't like record-setting, but it was huge.
Right. Yeah, I know it wasn't like Gruden's $100 million contract where we're all like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I remember it being pretty big. You got a number for me?
5 years between 10 and 12 million a year.
A year. Okay. So let's take the low one. Let's call it 50 mil. If you sign a contract for $50 million, you're doing a lot of things the day after you sign that contract. Like if you handed me a contract for 50 million, I know that, they say you shouldn't spend money you don't have. But if I'm handed an irresponsible amount of money, I'm about to go do very irresponsible things with it. Actually, I'll do some very responsible things followed by very irresponsible things.
Of course. No, you set yourself up for the future and then set yourself up for the next 20 minutes when you're, I really want a nice 80-inch TV. Sue me.
Yeah, I want one of Stevie Ray Vaughan's actual guitars. Like not one that looks like I want to like go find one of his.
I just like never would have guessed that in a million years. Like that would be nowhere. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
He's like Scooby fucking Doo. Stevie Ray Vaughan. Sorry, you were saying?
Like he's one of the best guitarists of all time. Like that is a priceless, collector's item. Nowhere on my list.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you hand me an irresponsible amount of money, I'm going to do my part as a millionaire and circulate that shit back into the economy.
I'm spending like $12,000 on like Tiger Woods's like backup putter from like the 2009 Masters. That's what I'm spending.
That's what I'm saying. And because the thing is, like, obviously they don't hand you a check for $50 million, but you got to think like if you're a grown man who worked at college, you probably have a decent amount in savings, and you can look at that money as expendable, or you can do it on credit. And so you got to wonder. Like, did Urban Meyer go?
Who's been making $10 million a year for the past, 15 years? He has some money saved up.
And what I'm wondering is, do you look at like, do they hand you a check for like 50 million? Hand you a contract for $50 million, and you go, I'm taking my savings, I'm putting something down on another house. I'm putting money down on a yacht. I'm like, I wonder how reckless you go with it, and then find out you get fired 11 months later, and you did not collect $50 million. And you got a new mortgage looking at you like, pay up, bitch.
Like that's a much bigger issue for guys who, get signed or get drafted in the first round and then are so fucking awful they get cut from their team and just like fizzle out immediately. Like, who was the guy? Like Damon Arnett, Henry Ruggs, like those kind of, like Henry Ruggs is going to prison, so that's a little different, but you don't have any money coming from college in the old days where, NIL deals weren't, a thing. Like you have the money you're getting from that signing bonus and from that first paycheck. That's all you got. But in your mind, you have, $40 million coming your way over the next 4 years. You have money to spend. And being financially irresponsible 20-year-old kids, you go and spend that money anyway. And when you, inevitably kill someone and go to prison and get cut from your team and, don't have that money anymore, I imagine you have quite a lot of payments to make. Urban Meyer, he'll be fine financially. Unless he's been real fucking stupid with his money. But by all means, he should be fine.
A man can hope he's not, though. But it'll be interesting to see how the
well off. I hope he's fucked.
Yeah. It would be great if his wife was like, well, that sucks there, Mr. Urban. I meet my lawyer. His name's Go Fuck Yourself. His name is I'm Taking Half. But thoughts and prayers. The Jaguars now will finish out their season with an interim coach. It really doesn't matter who it is. I could tell you a name of some defensive backs coach, and you would all go, yeah, that guy. So they have an interim coach. It'll be interesting to see where they play, what they do heading into the offseason, since this has been talked about a lot recently after Urban Meyer has been fired. But, we've looked at quite a number of college coaches who have come over to the NFL recently. not a lot of them have had success. The most successful college coach that came over from the end into the NFL within the last decade is actually Jim Harbaugh, who is not in the NFL anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking wild.
What year did Pete Carroll come over? Obviously, that was before 2011, which would be the 10-year mark. But
I'm not actually sure.
2009.
I was gonna guess 09. I'll have you look it up. So I'm looking something else up. Bitch. Fucking little bitch.
I mean, Cliff Kingsbury's off to a pretty decent start already. But by all means, he's
Yeah, so the Jaguars lost today to the Texans 30-16.
2010, he was hired by Seattle.
Just missed my 10-year cutoff.
Head coach and executive vice president of football operations. Did not know he held that title.
Houston has won 8 straight games against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is actually kind of startling because the Texans blow hot ass too.
Yeah, like that's not like the Patriots winning
against the Jets.
Straight against the Jets. Yeah, like that's the 2 worst teams in the NFL.
Man, and to lose 30-6, like losing against I'm pretty sure the Jets lost to the Texans. I could be making that up. Maybe they are one of our 3 wins, but even if they weren't, like I'm sure that game was, man, like a divisional
They're not heavy
team.
hitters. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's not good, Jim. It's not good. Fuck. Yeah, that's so anyway, Urban Meyer's gone. The NFL is probably better for it. It'll be interesting to see where he lands, if anywhere, and what we can decipher from that. The Jets did beat the Texans 24-14. 21-14.
Nice.
I
Way to
can't
go,
read.
Jets.
You did it. Team. You did. You lost to the Dolphins today in a disappointing game, but you did it. The Jets play the Jaguars in 2 weeks. That'll be an interesting discussion for us. Day after Christmas. I can't wait for my gift to be crushing disappointment. So, anywho, Urban Meyer's gone. World's better for it. Oh well.
The bad man is gone.
In other news, old guys returning to a sport. Buck Showalter will be managing the New York Metropolitans next season for reasons unbeknownst to most of us.
What are you going to do now, Buck?
And that's part of the reason it's kind of an interest, because you look at those Orioles teams, and when they were good teams. They really didn't, but when they were good, they really didn't go anywhere they should have. And you could argue that's because of Buck Showalter. Like, those, let's take a look here. The best season he had with the O's was 2014 when they won 96 games. And in 2014, let's see, what did the O's do? They finished first in the AL East. They won the division series in a clean sweep over the Tigers, 3-0, and then got swept by the wild card Kansas City Royals in 4 games.
Naturally.
And look, I don't really remember the 2014 postseason well enough outside of the World Series. Even my World Series grasp is pretty tenuous at this point to recall if there's any colossal managerial mistakes in there that especially fucked them. But, you had a team with some big, like good Crush Davis when he was still Crush Davis, good player. Manny Machado, Adam Jones, Nick Markakis, Nelson Cruz, Jonathan Scope. There's good guys on this team. Prime Zach Britton, Wei-Yin Chen, Chris Tillman. Who else was actually good at this time? Kevin Gausman was figuring it out.
He was not good at that time.
Yeah, he had a 3.57 ERA in 113 innings. I'll take that.
Wow.
Right?
So he was good and then really bad and then really good again?
That's what I'm getting out of this. Yes.
I missed the first part of that, his career.
I
was only there for the bad and then the good.
Yeah, right? They also had good seasons out of like Brad Brock. Like, anyway, but there's people with names we all know and love. Darren O'Day is here, and when he was still, oh my God, he had a 1.7 ERA that season. Fuck you. Tommy Hunter was still playing ball. And like none of those teams ever did anything. They fucking did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. And the problem with looking at Buck Showalter and his ability to win games is that he has taken some really great teams and done fucking nothing with them. Nothing. He managed the Yankees from 92 to 95. What did the Yankees do from 92 to 95? Nothing. What did they do from 96 forward? Won a bajillion World Series.
Well, no, the Yankees during that time switched from cotton or from polyester to cotton. Completely changed their team.
And Buck let that happen. Let's not forget it. Buck let that happen. So then he goes on to manage the Diamondbacks from 98 to 2000. What'd they do? Not much. What'd they do in 01 after they got rid of Buck? Won the World Series.
Buck Showalter was a guy who was past his time when he was fired multiple years ago. He was past his time throughout his tenure there. And man, I couldn't imagine giving him like this is Tony La Russa all over again, except not nearly as bad of a person.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's definitely Tony La Russa adjacent, but Tony La Russa is such a bad dude. He's like in his own category. Buck Showalter seems like a nice enough dude who's just, I don't understand the clamor. And everyone's going to come out the woodwork and say, Buck knows so much about baseball. And it's like, look, what do you need to know about baseball to be a manager? Because prattling off the names of like baseball players from the 1960s that you grew up playing with and were on some minor league teams with does not mean you know baseball very well from a functional ins and outs, how to win game operational standpoint. And I'm not saying you have to be as like stats nerds are the only guys that know how to go with the game. That's not true. You have to know how to understand when a swing looks wrong, when a pitcher's mechanics look wrong, you know, how to help guide younger players with understanding counts, when to swing, when to throw in the zone, all that type of shit that's not going to be on the stats page. I know that. But when someone says he knows the ins and outs of the game, like, why him? What is he bringing to the table outside of the, hey, do you remember Al Kaline? I knew Al Kaline. Here's a story about Al Kaline. Because like the messaging for a group of dudes where the oldest age in the room is like 32 and then Buck's like 90 is going to be pretty difficult to get across. And imagine trying to convince Buck Showalter he's wrong about baseball, which a front office will have to do at some point to communicate some of the concepts that aren't as visible as a faulty swing. That'd be torture. Have you ever tried to convince your grandparents they're wrong of something? Good fucking luck.
No, they're all dead.
Or your parents in this instance, my friend. Fuck you. Imagine trying to convince your dad he was wrong about something he's done his entire life.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to convince him wrong of, Penn State topics, and that's impossible, even though it's very clear. Yeah. No, you're not wrong, sir.
And maybe the Mets are building up to something. Maybe the wise sage is just what the Mets are going for. Like when the Tigers brought in Ron Gardenhire for a couple seasons, right before they brought in AJ Hinch. Ron Gardenhire was like an old dude. He still is an old dude. He didn't get younger. And he was there to like, yeah, look, you guys are all young. Let's make you feel like this is a real ball game. Like it's not the minors. Here's a real MLB coach, manager dude who's been doing the thing for a while. Now you can feel like you're legit. And then once they got competitive, they were like, thanks, Ron. See ya. But Ron worked out for a while while he was there. And maybe Buck works out. But man, when it feels like so many of your issues are personnel driven, I can't imagine wanting to make such a wild decision with your manager spot.
Yeah, for real. I mean, when everything has come down to personnel, going fucking wild with personnel decisions usually does not right that ship. Typically the opposite of what would be recommended.
Yeah.
I can't imagine there's a shortage of intelligent, up and coming players who can, or not players, but, front office executives who can run a team.
Or honestly,
I can't
or
imagine
former
the
players.
old boys club. Yeah. I can't imagine the old boys club is running out of potential clients or members. Whatever. fucking whatever.
I just would love to. I'm going to be interested to see, which this is a very forward-looking podcast, I guess, because that's my fucking catchphrase on this goddamn show. I'll be interested to see,
It's one of those
how
things.
he kind of handles, yeah, right, everything going forward. Because it's also, the Mets don't have a great bullpen, and it's a lot easier to look good as a manager when you got a good bullpen. It's a lot harder to look like a good manager when you got a bad bullpen. That's most of what you do. Like lineup construction, also, you'll get picked on as a manager because people think that it drastically alters the outcome of the universe. And hey, sometimes it might. I think it matters to a certain extent, but there's very few things that are visible to people that managers have direct control over, and the two main things are bullpen usage and lineup construction. So. But hey, we'll see. I'm not optimistic.
Per sources, NHL players will not be allowed at the 2022 Olympics.
Oh yeah, I heard rumblings that they might not be allowed from the NHL for additional exposure reasons, but the fact that it went the other way is just as interesting. Yeah. It's the right call.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, I would love to see actual players play together, on these all-star teams.
And the first time the NHL actually agrees to it, they don't set up an infrastructure to avoid positive COVID cases well enough to avoid, players getting sick en masse.
Mm-hmm. Well,
did you have something you wanted to talk about with Tiger Woods before we wrapped up?
Yeah, Tiger Woods played in the PNC Championship this weekend, his first tournament back since, the PNC Championship last year, after nearly losing his leg to amputation after a car crash.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. So didn't walk for several months, just kind of started getting back into it. And then out of nowhere, he's like, yeah, I'm going to play golf. And him and his son, Charlie, played and proceeded to birdie 11 of the last 12 holes to come up to second place. An absolutely wild round. Shot 57 together, which is a stupid number. And oh my God, watching Tiger Woods play golf again is just like, I get that it's not, a PGA Tour event. He's out there playing with his son. He's got a cart that he can ride in because of his leg. It's not quite the same, but holy fuck, watching Tiger Wood hit just Tiger Wood shots, or at least, Tiger Woods-esque shots is just, it's unreal. It's like watching Wayne Gretzky come back to play hockey. Like, it's just stupid how exciting it is. And Charlie Woods is infinitely better of a golfer at 12 years old than I am. Like, he hits some absolute pin missiles. But that's really all I had to say.
Tiger Woods, Team Woods took second place today.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go Team Woods.
Yeah, John Daly and his son, Little John, won, which was exciting to see because John Daly is one of the most fun golfers to watch, mostly because that man does not give a shit and also looks like Santa. He was out smoking a cigarette on the fairway of the last 18th hole because, they had already essentially clinched the win. They had an eagle look, and it's just like John Daly's out there smoking a cig. He's doing himself.
I know it's so much less practical because of the sheer amount of equipment, but I wish in those instances, like a guy like Daly, who's already clinched and is on the 18th, could just be like, hand me that left-handed driver. Let's just fucking see what I got out here. Because, it doesn't happen a lot at the MLB level. It happens every now and then that, I think Javi Baez did it like a year or two ago where, you're winning or losing by so much that you go, fuck it. We're swinging this bitch lefty. But that doesn't involve any additional equipment. You just stand in a different box.
Yeah.
Whereas golf, you have to have extra gear. But I would love to see it.
Elbow pad and a different helmet.
Yeah, which could just be borrowed from friends who are nearby,
Yeah.
who literally sit right next to you. Whereas with golf, you'd have to bring a second set of clubs, but it'd be pretty fucking funny.
Or
For
just take a club out of your bag and just throw a random lefty one in there. And at that point, it's like, all right, I'm shortchanging myself purposely.
if you had to have one club that you would do this with, where you could be like, okay, I could conceivably play this whole hole with one club, minus putting. We'll say putting, you go back to right-handed. One main club to go down the fairway with. What would you take?
I can only play one club.
Yeah, minus putter. Putter, you can still putt.
Man, it'd have to be like a 7-iron or an 8-iron. Just like, I don't think, like, yeah, hitting like a hybrid or a driver would probably be the easiest to hit left-handed for me. But if I have to hit every shot with it, it'd have to be, a mid-iron. A wedge, might be catastrophic.
How would you drive with a wedge?
Right. And it's like,
Imagine you
thin it
rock some shit and it just goes 900 feet in the air, plops
Yeah.
down 10 yards in front of you, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. All right. And plus, it's left-handed, so there's no way I'm actually hitting a good wedge shot.
Oh, fuck no.
That just won't happen.
No, you're hitting it far and deep to the way right side of you.
I think I
Slice
may be able
City.
to make contact with the driver off a tee. I don't think I could hit a ball with an iron, but boy, I don't think it's going to be a good shot.
You know what? The left-handed golf swing, if you're leading by a catastrophic amount, is so much more insulting than the left-handed baseball swing. Because the left-handed baseball swing is something you could just do in BP. Because again, it doesn't take anything to do it. But like, if you're going to try to swing lefty in golf, not only do you need the extra equipment, but even when you're practicing at the driving range, you'd have to bring a left-handed club with you to the driving range just on the offhand chance you go, I'm going to fucking ruin someone's day with this at some point. Like, you'd have to prep for that level of pettiness. That's so much worse.
So Tron Carter, one of the hosts of the No Laying Up podcast.
That's not a real name.
It is. He switched from right-handed to left-handed golf for an entire year because his son was left-handed and he wanted to like play with him and like go through the process of like learning how to play and finding your game, and ended up being like a fairly good player left-handed. Granted, he was, a +1, +2 handicap to start right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So his understanding of the golf swing is far beyond either one of ours. But it was really cool watching him just like show up and just start swinging lefty. He would have a lot of good shots that were like, wow, like I can't believe he did that left-handed. Like I could never do that. But there were shots that would come out that were just like, there it is. That's the fuck up that you knew we would hit every time. Like that's it. And Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports before he got hurt, was supposed to play Brooks Koepka, where Koepka was going to play left-handed. And like they were just going to play each other heads up or, straight up. Didn't happen. Brooks almost broke his wrist, did break his wrist, whatever you want to call it. And arguably would be, however you feel about Dave Portnoy, but it would have been interesting outright just to see Brooks Koepka play left-handed.
Right. I would love to. We talked about seeing baseball
Dustin
players
Johnson,
just for the fun of it. Dustin
Johnson, the golfer, played left-handed for a hole against some of the Foreplay Pod guys and fucking smoked him. He's just, again, that's Dustin Johnson and, Brooks Koepka and guys who are really good at golf. Very different for us laymen. But fuck, man. It's possible. Just
it is possible. Final question before we go.
Sure.
The new Spider-Man movie is out.
Mm-hmm.
He's from Queens, so I think he probably belongs to a temple somewhere there. The Spider-Mans. If Spider-Man was to play a sport, what sport do you think would best be suited to Spider-Man's ability?
Could you imagine Spider-Man just going up, running straight for the end zone and just Hail Mary every play and just got it, mine. It would be great for baseball, but I don't know if Spider-Man could hit all that well. He'd be a great defender, but at the end of the day, it's like, yes, saving a home run once or twice a game is different from literally scoring a touchdown every single offensive play in football.
Plus, way bigger target that moves way slower with a football.
Right.
I think you're probably right. Because baseball would be so. Because that's the thing. I don't think it's conducive towards baseball because you still have to be able to make Spider-Man, great strength, so he'd probably rock a homer every time. But making contact is a bitch, and then fielding. I mean, a baseball moves 100 miles an hour when it's hit if you hit it right, and I don't know how the fuck you do that.
Granted, it's fucking Spider-Man, so I imagine he'd find a way to do it to some extent. But yeah, I think
still, the buildings don't move
naturally. Just the best way to do it.
Passes top out at like 60 miles an hour.
Right.
Top.
And it's like, oh, your hands are naturally perfectly sticky. Even if you aren't using the web to pull it towards you, it's like, oh, if you get a hand on it, you're good. You'll be the best slot receiver in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, it's true. Because it wouldn't help his basketball shot at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd still have to learn how to skate if he was going to play the NHL.
Which, again, you're playing with a stick. Like any stick sport isn't helping you in any way.
No, yeah, probably not.
Natural
all right,
so Spider-Man, natural football player.
Everyone check Julian Edelman's palms.
You know what? Now that I think about it, competitive rock climbing might be his best shot because he climbs walls.
Yeah, but that's not that's not a team sport.
Touche.
It's not a ball sport. We only care about ball sports in our simple American minds.
I only care about balls.
Can't get them out of my head. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here then. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at JuicingPod. If you want to hit up Corwin on Twitter, you can do so at Corwin Heller. If you'd like to follow myself on Twitter, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy. If you'd like to send emails to the show, you can do so at juicethenumbers@gmail.com. And until Thursday, y'all have a good one.
Bye.